Some immigrants aren't just staying, they're holding America together. Deporting them would break the system. ICE raids are on the rise, and border arrests are increasing. Yet behind all this chaos, something unexpected is unfolding. Some immigrants are staying, not because they're legal, nor because they followed the rules, but because removing them would disrupt systems the country depends on. These individuals drive your Ubers, write your apps, clean your office buildings, and care for your elderly parents. Many of them come from Asian countries that the US cannot afford to alienate, diplomatically, economically, or politically. So while many others are being detained and deported, these particular groups are quietly being allowed to stay. Why? Because they've become too essential to remove. Let's explore the top 7 Asian countries whose citizens the United States is unlikely to deport in 2025, and the deeper reasons behind that reality. Number 7. Thailand. Thai immigrants aren't making headlines or leading public protests. They're not the subject of legal battles or political debates. But they've become quietly indispensable to the everyday American economy. In 2025, over 300,000 Thai nationals are living in the US. Many entered through family reunification, marriage-based visas, or small business investments. Some have overstayed their visas or fallen out of legal status, yet very few are being deported. The reason is simple. Removing them would cause immediate and visible economic disruption in cities like Los Angeles, Houston, and Tampa. Thai immigrants operate massage clinics, nail salons, restaurants, and wellness spas. These aren't niche or marginal businesses. They are essential components of local economies, relied upon by millions. Walk into a strip mall at 9 a.m., and the glowing, "Open" sign is likely maintained by a Thai immigrant. They work long hours, hire local employees, pay taxes, and ask for very little in return. Their lack of political visibility has, ironically, become their greatest shield. They're not lobbying for attention, they're keeping Main Street alive, and policymakers are aware of this. Immigration enforcement agencies like ICE rarely target Thai communities. Why? Because the political risk of raiding a popular spa or shutting down a neighborhood Thai restaurant is far too high. Additionally, Thailand maintains a stable diplomatic relationship with the US, with strong trade and defense ties. There's no tension to provoke, no reason for confrontation. Even undocumented Thai immigrants remain shielded, not due to legal immunity, but because deporting them is bad politics and worse economics. In a time of growing immigration enforcement, Thai immigrants are quietly protected by their cultural fit, economic contribution, and community trust. Their numbers may not be large, but their reliability is undeniable. Number 6. Indonesia. Indonesian immigrants don't arrive in large waves. They don't dominate headlines or stir up political drama. Yet, they've carved out a respected and quiet niche within American society. And in 2025, that very silence has become their strongest protection. Fewer than 200,000 Indonesians reside in the US, mostly concentrated in California, Texas, and New York. Many entered the country via student visas, religious worker programs, or employment-based immigration in industries like hospitality, education, and tech. Some came as asylum seekers, particularly Christians fleeing persecution in rural parts of Indonesia. Others overstayed after building families and putting down roots. Despite the gray area of their legal status, deportations are extremely rare. Why? Because Indonesian immigrants are viewed as low risk and low profile. They integrate quickly, avoid public conflict, and support their communities through small businesses, religious institutions, and neighborhood services. In areas like Los Angeles or Houston, you'll find Indonesian food trucks, churches filled every Sunday, and IT professionals quietly keeping major systems running. ICE knows there's little political benefit in targeting this group. On the contrary, such actions could spark backlash, especially when these individuals are filling labor shortages and bolstering the economy. Even undocumented Indonesians often find shelter through religious organizations, cultural networks, and community alliances. They may not demand to be seen, but they've earned something even more valuable: trust, contribution, and protection rooted in geopolitics. Number 5. South Korean immigrants are thriving across industries in America. They're running tutoring centers, launching skincare brands, engineering electronics, and even baking some of the best bread in town. But beyond success, they enjoy a rare status in 2025. They are effectively untouchable. More than 200,000 South Korean nationals live in the U.S., primarily through student visas, long-term work assignments, and family-based immigration. They've established strongholds in cities like Los Angeles, Atlanta, and New York, where Korean neighborhoods, like Koreatown, have become economic and cultural powerhouses. They operate grocery stores, dry cleaners, cosmetic clinics, and after-school academies. And unlike many immigrant communities, South Koreans are often met with admiration rather than controversy. Statistically, South Korean immigrants have among the lowest visa violation and crime rates. They assimilate easily, avoid legal trouble, and make significant contributions to sectors like education, small business, and beauty. The most critical reason they won't be deported, however, lies in military strategy. South Korea remains one of America's closest defense allies. Nearly 30,000 U.S. troops are stationed on the Korean peninsula. The two nations maintain joint exercises, intelligence sharing, and a united front against threats from North Korea. Deporting South Korean nationals, even over minor immigration infractions, would strain this long-standing alliance, disrupting military coordination and diplomatic trust. That's not a risk the U.S. is willing to take. Economically, South Korean companies like Samsung, Hyundai, and LG are embedded in the American consumer and tech landscape. Their professionals in the U.S. are vital to that supply chain. Meanwhile, cultural exports such as K-pop and Korean dramas foster widespread public goodwill. All of this creates a form of invisible protection. Immigration enforcement may be tightening elsewhere, but for South Korean immigrants, the cost of removal is simply too high. Number 4. Japanese nationals don't frequently overstay visas. They're not the subject of immigration raids or cable news panels. Yet in 2025, Japanese immigrants enjoy one of the most respected and quietly untouchable statuses in the United States. Roughly 400,000 Japanese citizens currently reside in the U.S., mostly through corporate transfers, education exchanges, business ventures, or family connections. They're primarily based in cities like Los Angeles, Honolulu, San Francisco, and New York, where Japanese businesses and cultural centers have long thrived. What sets them apart is the level of institutional backing they carry. Many work for multinational corporations, or are researchers, engineers, and artists in critical industries. They arrive with legal status and professional intent, not to disappear into the shadows. The U.S.-Japan relationship is one of the most stable and strategic alliances in the world. A bilateral security treaty, intelligence collaboration, and substantial economic interdependence define their partnership. American military bases in Japan, especially in Okinawa, are vital to Washington's Pacific defense strategy. In turn, Japan offers financial, logistical, and diplomatic support. Any aggressive action targeting Japanese nationals could jeopardize these strategic ties. The fallout would be swift, damaging trust and weakening U.S. influence in the region. Culturally, Japan's global soft power, through anime, cuisine, and innovation, reinforces public respect. Japanese immigrants are viewed not as outsiders, but as refined, contributing members of society. Even when occasional visa overstays occur, authorities often choose not to act, not out of negligence, but because creating conflict where harmony exists serves no purpose. In 2025, Japanese nationals remain largely untouched, not due to luck, but because their removal would undermine too many essential partnerships. Number 3. Vietnam. Decades ago, Vietnamese immigrants came to America as refugees fleeing war. Today, they are doctors, entrepreneurs, engineers, and civic leaders. In 2025, the Vietnamese American community is among the most politically and economically influential Asian populations in the country. Over 1.3 million people of Vietnamese descent live in the U.S., concentrated in Houston, Orange County, San Jose, and New Orleans. They built thriving businesses from scratch: nail salons, restaurants, law firms, dental offices, and tech startups. Their children consistently rank among top-performing students in elite universities. Many serve in the military, led nonprofits, and run for political office. They are not just surviving in America, they are helping to shape it. Politically, the Vietnamese community is particularly powerful in swing states like Texas, Georgia, and Arizona. Well-organized and deeply engaged, they are increasingly courted by both political parties. Any administration targeting them would face serious backlash, not just from the community, but also at the polls. On the international front, Vietnam has become a crucial U.S. ally in Southeast Asia, particularly in countering China's regional expansion. Washington is increasing military and economic cooperation with Hanoi. Deporting Vietnamese nationals en masse would send the wrong message, one of disrespect and diplomatic regression. Even undocumented Vietnamese immigrants often find leniency in the system, not because of favoritism, but because their removal would hurt both domestic communities and international diplomacy. In 2025, Vietnamese Americans aren't just part of America's refugee history, they're integral to its future. They represent a rare success story where trust, resilience, and long-term investment pay off. Number 2. The Philippines. Filipino immigrants care for America's sick, elderly, and disabled. They teach in schools, serve in the military, and keep hospitals running. In 2025, they're not just welcome in the U.S., they are indispensable. Over 4 million people of Filipino descent live across the country, from Los Angeles to New York, Honolulu to San Diego. Their presence is especially dominant in healthcare. An astonishing 1 in 5 foreign-born nurses in America is Filipino. That number is not just impressive, it's irreplaceable. During the COVID-19 crisis, Filipino nurses were on the front lines. Many died, and many more kept hospitals running when no one else could. With chronic nursing shortages, even undocumented Filipino caregivers are rarely targeted. Removing them would cause ward closures, delays in care, and political disaster. Beyond healthcare, Filipinos serve in large numbers in the U.S. Navy and Air Force. They work in education, tech, logistics, and service industries. With English fluency, cultural alignment, and strong family values, they integrate more easily than most groups. Politically, they represent a powerful voting bloc in states like California, Nevada, and Hawaii. Their loyalty and organization mean that no candidate, Democrat or Republican, wants to alienate them. Internationally, the U.S. and the Philippines maintain a mutual defense treaty. As tensions rise in the South China Sea, their military partnership is expanding. Deporting Filipinos en masse would damage both domestic systems and crucial international alliances. In 2025, Filipinos are not just allowed to stay, they're necessary for America to function. Number 1. India. They write the code that powers your phone, perform surgeries that save lives, and are increasingly steering American business and politics. In 2025, more than 4.5 million Indian Americans live in the U.S., and they are no longer just another immigrant group. They are central to the nation's future. Over 70% of H-1B visas for skilled workers are issued to Indian nationals. These are the developers at Google, analysts at Amazon, and engineers at Microsoft. Without them, Silicon Valley would grind to a halt. But their presence extends beyond tech. Indian Americans are doctors, professors, entrepreneurs, and civic leaders. They teach at Ivy League institutions, run hospitals, and are increasingly seeking elected office. Their political influence is growing, especially in states like New Jersey, Texas, Georgia, and California. They vote in high numbers, fund campaigns, and command attention from both political parties. Strategically, India is at the core of America's Indo-Pacific strategy. As a counterbalance to China, the U.S. is deepening military ties and trade agreements with New Delhi. Deporting Indian nationals en masse would damage this critical alliance and threaten both economic and diplomatic interests. Even when visa backlogs build up, the system bends to accommodate Indian professionals, because losing them is simply too costly. In 2025, Indian immigrants aren't just safe from deportation, They are indispensable to America's economy, politics, and global standing. That's why India tops the list. Without Indian immigrants, America risks losing its competitive edge. By 2025, immigration policy in America is no longer just about law, it's about leverage. Deportation decisions are increasingly influenced by necessity, not just legal status. Asian immigrants have become the silent infrastructure behind the U.S. economy. They don't protest or demand attention, they do the jobs that keep the country running. As the U.S. faces labor shortages, an aging population, and rising global competition, these communities are being quietly protected, not out of charity, but necessity. Foreign policy matters too. Deporting workers from nations like India, Vietnam, or South Korea could undermine key alliances, disrupt trade, and weaken U.S. global influence. Looking ahead, expect more silent exceptions and unofficial protections for immigrants who are simply too valuable to lose. Because in today's immigration reality, the question isn't just, did you overstay? It's, what happens to America if you leave? For millions of essential immigrants, the answer is clear. America can't afford it. They aren't just names on visas. They are the nurses in your hospitals, the coders in your firms, and the small business owners on your street. As political debates rage on, these immigrants quietly keep the country functioning. And in 2025, they're too essential to let go.